Well, if you've ever fallen flat on your face calling and trying to convert a lead, you are in the right place. Today, I'm with Cody May, the founder of Sheridan Street, one of the best conversion companies on the planet, works specifically with real estate agents, but he understands all things marketing and advertising. I'm going to be picking his brain about what's working today, what he's thinking about in the future, and really getting nuts to bolts around things that we've experienced that we would have done differently and what the future of lead conversion is. So welcome to the Prime People Podcast, Cody.
Hey, man, so excited to chat. You were on our podcast recently, so I am excited to jam today with you.
Well, you're a global adventurer. You're doing big things all over the planet. I believe you're in Colombia right now. Why don't you give people a little bit of background to who you are if they've never heard of Cody before?
You never heard of me? I spent the last 10 years in telecom, managing teams, doing sales, working for a Fortune 500 company, transitioned into running my own agency in 2018. And, we were working with a bunch of different types of businesses, really lead gen based businesses. Had a company called Studio PTPO. We rebranded probably about not even a year ago. We rebranded a year ago to Sheridan Street. We just help real estate agents, teams attract leads, nurture leads for life, and help them fill their funnel and get more in-person meetings. Is kind of what we're up to and what we're after. Just try to provide a massive amount of value back to the real estate community through education, through just really thinking about marketing differently. We have a team of over 30 people. We're spread out all across the world, Latin America, which is where I'm at right now, a large team here, a bunch of people in Canada as well, and a couple of people in the US. So spread out all over the world, just really looking to make a massive impact in the real estate community.
That's pretty awesome. I want to dig into that in the episode for sure. Like, how do you manage a team from a virtual perspective, all that. But let's first and foremost, what do you think the number one consistent mistake you have seen over the years when it comes to lead conversions that agents make?
Scripting.
Really?
Like it just is. It's scripting. I spent the last probably 6 months really trying to identify where is the bottleneck when it comes to online leads. Like if you have somebody on the phone and you're speaking to somebody like me and Sharon. So Sharon's a mentor of mine, also a business partner in Sheridan Street. And he has actually sat across, the table from Mr. and Mrs. Jones. Like he's like a lot of his scripting that we're using right now in order to get online leads into in-person meetings, just like I really went on this rabbit hole of like, okay, I know what my ISA agents are saying, but like, what are the agents saying that's deterring them? Like, how are they triggering sales resistance? Like, why is it that they get somebody on the phone that's interested in buying and selling real estate and they can't seem to get them into an in-person meeting? Like, what is it that they're doing, or what is it that they're saying or not saying, specifically around online leads?
Okay. Sorry. We just had the camera switch off on me. So bear with me 1 second.
No worries.
I'm back, Jack. Yeah, it would definitely be the conversational pieces, right? Like just, being uncomfortable and not confident 9 times out of 10 will lose you that lead to an actual conversion. But what about like getting them on the phone to begin with? Like so many agents struggle with Facebook leads or online leads, and they think they're low quality when in reality, I can sit down and make 10 phone calls and have a very different end game. So how do they even get them on the phone in the first place?
Well, I think the first thing is like the consistency of the phone call. Like I'll give you an example. The other day, probably about 2-3 weeks ago, I was playing phone tag with my leasing company for my car. I had a lease. I'm not living in Canada anymore. Had to get out of the lease and play phone tag. Like this sales rep tried to call me 9 times, and text, emails. I'm busy. Like I have other things. While it's a priority, it's not a priority right now. I know I need to get it done, and people need to buy and sell real estate, but they might have other things on the go, especially the people that are buying $1 million, $2 million, $5 million properties. Finding the right time in order to reach them can often be the thing that deters people, because they think that I think so the national average that we know that for the most part, real estate agents don't call leads. So having an ISA or an inside sales agent, it can definitely be a trigger point for a lot of real estate teams. And if you look at a lot of top teams in the country, generally they'll have some sort of inside sales agents, whether they outsource it or whether they bring it in-house, whatever they do, they have somebody that is making the touch point. Because I think it was the national average times that a real estate agent will reach out to a lead is 1.4 times, but it's 35 touch points in order to create a conversation. So, and those touch points look different. So those are the national sales averages. So I think that that people give up too easily. And like when I look at tech sales, or I look at sales that I've done in the past, or if I look at car sales or any other sales business, the way that they look at sales is the life cycle of the lead could be 2 years, especially in tech sales. Like the life cycle of the lead could be 2 years. It could require me to follow up 39 times in order to actually get the lead over the finish line. Like I have a fundamental belief that all conversion happens in conversation.
Yeah.
And that fundamental belief, it's like, if I can't create the conversation, there's never going to be an opportunity for conversion. So it's like, using a power dialer is something that I recommend everyone, whether we use a program called Vici Dial, maybe it's Mojo Dialer, like getting a power dialer so you can get on the phone faster with people. I think could be definitely something that agents that are just starting out could really benefit from, because it's really hard to compete with like an ISA that 8 hours a day, all they're doing is dialing. Like that is their job, where it just makes it really difficult to compete with somebody where it's like all they're doing is showing homes. All they're doing is listing presentations. It's like, of course they're going to be better. All they're doing is talking to online leads. They know the things to say. They know how to get people over the finish line. They know the objections to expect. Online lead generation, getting that conversation is a skill. And then it's what you do with it that becomes even more of a skill.
What would be the stats around those conversions? Like if you got 100 online leads, like how many convert, say, to conversations or actual clients? I'm sure this rattles around in your brain all the time, right?
100%. So, every lead source is different, and every cost per lead in every market is different. It's in our space, in the real estate space, like generally the KPIs that we look for is cost per live transfer. So I'm generally looking for a cost for a live transfer to be anywhere between $60 to $150 per live transfer.
Okay.
Is the on the phone. The top agents that use our scripts, and I just have the numbers based on like our metrics, are generally converting about, if they get 10 live transfers, they generally are they're going to convert anywhere between 4 to 7 to an in-person meeting.
That's good.
So those are the numbers that we generally look for. Like, but there's other trigger points. And I was chatting with our team about this the other day, and I was chatting with some clients. I'm like, there's key trigger points in your business that you need to look at. Like, you need to look at cost per lead. You need to look at cost per appointment. You need to look at cost per showed appointment. You need to look at, if it's a live transfer process you're looking for, I would be looking for cost per in-person meeting, cost per live transfer. It's like breaking it down and getting real granular will help you understand, how do I spend more profitably? I think just people aren't looking at their numbers clearly enough, and we're doing it on the front end, but then on the back end, it's like, what's my cost per contract? What's my cost per, buyer contract? My cost per listing presentation? What are those costs? Will give us a better understanding of how do we scale profitably, because at every point there's a breaking point. So I like to look at those costs, because those costs excite me more, because rather than trying to scale back my ad spend or scale back my expenses, if I know, like right now, something we're obsessed over is like our cost per showed appointment. Mm-hmm. If I know that if I can get 100 showed appointments, my sales team generally will do about a 20% close rate. I know we can bring in 20 new clients off of $100 showed appointments. And if I can keep my cost per appointment around $150 to $200, I can spend 15 to 20K in order to acquire potentially 20 clients.
Yeah.
So, but there's no way to know that unless you track every single element of it. And real estate team leads and agents, they have a lot going on. So it's often hard to track these things. But what I would encourage you to do is sit down, put it in a spreadsheet, and figure out what are your 5 trigger points that will either take your business to the next level, or potentially I assume you guys do this as well. You have your trigger point numbers of like, if I spend this amount, it'll make me this amount. But that would be the encouragement that I would give anyone that is considering running ads, considering hiring an ISA, is like, you need to know those numbers.
Yeah, it's absolutely critical. And I was never good at doing it in the beginning too, because I'm just very much, I'll do everything. Don't worry about the ROI. I'll run through a brick wall and generate a boatload of business. But it was actually, I was reading Alex Hormozi's $1 Million Offer. Have you read that book?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, Alex is a good friend of ours.
He actually broke it down in the book to something that reminded me of early on in my career, where he's like, I'm spending $10K a month, but if I track net I'm actually losing $3,000 on that 10K spend. He's like, I need a better offer. And the whole premise of the book is like, if I create an offer that's just so absolutely amazing, that same 10K spend deployed more effectively, my conversion rates skyrocket. They go up to 40,
Totally.
46%. And they started just compartmentalizing it, but it does start with tracking, just like nutrition. If you don't know what you're putting in your body, you don't know the exercise you're doing, it's hard for you to make progressive gains. Sometimes you just feel good because you know you're doing stuff. Like 90% of our industry, they just go out and they're busy, but they're wondering why they're still struggling to close, 5, 10, 20, 40, or they just can't break past that 40 mark. Meanwhile, they don't know what efforts they're putting in. So now let's put that hat on. Say you're an agent and you have inbound leads and you're converting. Like, what are you tracking, say, from an agent's perspective in terms of efforts? Like, what should the agents be tracking themselves in order to look back and figure out their conversion rates?
So it's those same numbers. It's if I do 6 in-person meetings, it then becomes back-end tracking. If I do 6 in-person meetings, how many contracts did I get? And if you can tie that back to a dollar number where it's like, okay, I had 6 in-person meetings. Each meeting cost me $300 for the meeting. So I spent $1,800 in order to acquire these 6 meetings. How many contracts did I get signed? Now, the hard thing in the real estate industry that makes it so difficult, why people give up too soon is, number one, they haven't dialed in their metrics. And B, the life cycle of a real estate lead is a lot longer than any other industry. It's very similar to tech sales, where they'll invest a lot of money in the future. So I think agents need to understand where they're at in their business and whether they should even be investing in online leads or not.
Sure.
If you're doing 6, 7, 8 deals a year, I say this all the time to people, is something has to change in the business to go to 16. So what is the output you're going to create? So Sharon says this all the time, and we chat about this with all of our clients. There's now business, which is activity-based business. It's like door knocking, cold calling, like calling expireds, getting in front of people that have to actively make a move based on a recent life event. So whether they're divorced, whether they are relocating, whether they have to downsize because of a family event, that's now business. Expireds, that's now business. Then there's the second element of your business, which we call referral or sphere type business. But a lot of people say, oh, I've only built my business on referrals, or I've only built my business on sphere. But a lot of these clients that I'm speaking with, or a lot of these people I'm speaking with that have only focused on that one pillar, they're not doing well this year.
Mm-hmm.
Because like your sphere just isn't that big. Like, how many people do you know actively right now have to move because they're getting a divorce, because they have to relocate, or they have to downsize? We just don't know that many people.
Yeah.
Even in our sphere, I just don't know that many people. So that's why we do pipeline business, which is generate leads, nurture them, book in-person meetings so that we can meet more people that we don't know. Because it's in the people that we don't know that we create scalability in our business. So I hope that answered your question, but like, those are all things that I'm thinking about.
Yeah.
Where it's like, those are the pillars towards what I really feel are successful business. Because even in our agency to acquire clients, we do everything. We spend tens of thousands of dollars in advertising spend. We go to trade shows. We do cold outbound emails. We do we have multiple sources that generate business. So I think
you track all those sources, like when it comes in, you have an idea. Yeah,
totally. Every source is tracked. If you don't track, there's no way to know what's working and what's not working. It's like you have to, like, even hiring some sort of consultant that could come in to help you track these things. Like early on in my business, when we made the transition to real estate and really focusing all in on real estate, I hired an accounting firm to help us build out our KPIs.
Yeah.
So I paid money in to say, like, what are the KPIs that are going to help us reach our goals? And like, then we started stacking on more and more KPIs. But the better that you understand your trigger points, like each department in our agency has 5 trigger points that we know that if they hit those trigger points, we hit our goals. Mm-hmm. So it's like, you got to reverse engineer the goal, where it's like, okay, I want to sell 20 homes this year. Okay, how many leads do I need? How many conversations do I need to have? It's everything that, the Ryan Serhants of the world, the Tom Ferrys of the world, it's everything that they say and they hear it. It's just a lot of work, so they don't want to do it. But the benefit of doing it will outweigh not doing it, because you'll actually reach your goals at the end of the year.
Yeah, I mean, without a doubt, the most common question I get asked is, how do I become successful? Like, I want to do more business. I'm hungry. And it always ends up being the same conversation. It's, well, what are you doing every day to generate the business? Like, how many phone calls are you actually making? How much time are you spending in your database? Are you delivering on the promises you made to people previously consistently over time? And I don't necessarily think people track their actual output. And if they tracked time doom scrolling TikTok versus actually working on your CRM, you might have a very clear reason on why you have or don't have any business. At the same time, it's like, I get excited because I'm like, this business is hard and it should be hard in order to achieve success. But I was going to ask you, given you've seen thousands of agents over your time and you spend a lot of time networking, like you said, right, in a lot of different spaces, doing a lot of different things because you're clear on who your client avatar is. What are like some of the most common characteristics you've seen of those top producers that you think sets them apart from the 80% of the industry?
So, there's this common saying that success leaves clues. And, we've interviewed, I think we're on episode like 93 since December of our podcast. And it's like, a lot of them are picking the brains. Like, you were on our podcast. Like, what are you doing? It's like, I'm tracking my numbers. Some things that, like, there's different trigger points that I see for teams than I do for agents. The agents, really the answer is the output for an agent. Like, wants to do, you got to master one activity based thing based on what I'm saying. Like, you got to choose cold calling, door knocking,
it could even be content production, whatever,
content production. Like, it could be something. You got to master something. You got to really work your sphere, and you have to have a pipeline. Like it's really simple stuff. Now for teams, it becomes different. It becomes like, because I'm seeing a lot of teams scale back a lot. When you get into a team element, based on the conversations I've had with some of the top performing teams, it's like, it becomes leadership. It becomes operations. So it becomes like really dialing in your numbers. Even as an agent, you should be doing that. It becomes really managing your sales team, like to a high level of standard. Like, one of my favorite people in the world, Chris Spiker, he runs the Spiker Group. He has a major league, a minor league, and a JV league that essentially it's like, and it rotates weekly. So if your conversion drops below, it's not like there's no, and he said it in the podcast, and him and I have had this conversation. It's not like anything against you as a person or you as a salesperson. It's just like, this is how the team operates. If you drop below 20%, you get pulled off Zillow leads. If your pickup rate's not above 80%, you're back. So get it above 80% and we'll put you back on Zillow leads. Because I think that there's an element of leadership with that like some top performing teams. It's like they're really great leaders. They're agnostic towards like results. It's like, you either get results or you don't, like from a sales team. And they have good operators. They're running a business like a business. Like, I don't do operations. I'm not good at operations. We have a COO that handles operations of the business. So I think it's just identifying your weak points and then like connecting yourself with people. Like, early on, I joined Taki Moore's boardroom in order to learn how to what are 8-figure entrepreneurs doing in order to reach their goals. And that would be the same encouragement. Like you and I had the conversation about you reaching out to Ryan Serhant. It's like, okay, he has a really big network. He has a very big business. He can give you the tool. Like, it's like looking to people that have already been where you want to go, I think would be the big thing that I would say from all of the really successful real estate businesses that I speak with. They're always learning. And the very last thing I'll say is they don't care whether somebody's looking to buy or sell real estate in 3 months, 6 months, 12 months, 18 months, 5 years, 10 years. They just want to educate the market, and they really want to show up and have a massive impact in the real estate community. So that would be the last thing I would say, is like, they're agnostic towards the timeline, because if they know that if they can get the right information in front of the right people, when they are ready to buy, they're more likely to choose them.
Yeah, I could see that. And I mean, as you're talking, I'm thinking about like, what am I doing and who am I getting around that's challenging me? And I can tell you the next big pivot is, what are the incorporations of AI technology and tools into our business? And like, what are the top tier people doing? And getting around them is so key. I know you're doing that with a lot of the mentors in the spaces that you're spending in, which is why I wanted to bring you on the show, introduce my audience to who you are and what you're doing. But let's go back to the operations piece, because I think that's super interesting. I'm very hands-on. We're very, very local. We do work with some VAs, and I always have. But how do you operate? How big's your team now? Like the number of people?
33, I think.
Okay, so I'm around the exact same number. So if I was looking at that group and mine split between, say, real estate and some on the production side, and from a global perspective, how do you codify a culture with working with people that are all over the planet?
Yeah, so one of my favorite people in the world is Cameron Harold. So Cameron and I have become pretty good friends over the last couple of years. He wrote a book called Vivid Vision that I really think has helped me get out of my head and onto paper what I see the next 10 years for our agency look like, who we want to help, the type of people we want to be, the type of media we want to get. I think that in order to attract, I have a fundamental belief that in order to attract good talent, in order to attract great talent, you need to have a big vision for where you want to go in the future. So being able to effectively manage a large team, for me at this point in the business, comes down to becoming a good leader for my leaders. Like, I can't see all things at all times. It's like we have a leadership team. So we have our call center department, we have our content department, we have our client success department, and we have our sales department. We have a department head for each one. I pour in as much time and effort as I can alongside my COO into those departments and try to help them. But I can't be everything to everyone. So it's like at this stage, it's being able to effectively communicate my vision for what I want this company to look like to them. And then like making sure that they're bought into where we're going. Like, I think we have I really believe we have a company culture of people who want to be here, who want to win at a really high level. And a lot of that, being able to effectively communicate that came from reading Cameron Harold's book, Vivid Vision. And from me being able to connect with Cameron and pick his brain on how he took 1-800-GOT-JUNK to 100 million. A lot of it came down to company culture. So I think from an overseas perspective, we're picking up a lot of ISAs, a lot of inside sales agents from realtor.com. So they're coming in already trained, and they want a better work environment. They want to be treated with respect, the respect that they deserve. Just because they're overseas, they want to be paid a good livable wage, just like we in Canada or the US want to be paid a good livable wage. So it's like they're coming in, they're already trained. And as we grow, I'm trying to pick out the best of the best talent. But the reason they're coming there is like I don't have to recruit. Our recruiting literally is like, hey, do you guys know somebody? Have you worked with somebody at realtor.com that might want to come over? Send them the Vivid Vision. This is what we're building, and this is where we're going together. And then we just get a ton of applications of people who want to come work for us. We run some ads in recruiting on LinkedIn for inside sales agents, but generally for the most part, the team to this point has been built from other people saying that hey, we're looking at bringing on a client success manager. Okay. We put it out there into the world, and then our network generally will bring back we just haven't gotten to the point where we've really needed to. In the next couple of years, will we eventually need to start having an HR person, bringing on, we're eventually going to get there. We're going to have to do that. But right now at this standpoint, the Vivid Vision has really helped us attract the early adopter talent that we need in order to get to where we want to go. Because everyone's super passionate about what we're building together.
Yeah, I think that's super interesting. And I wrote down Vivid Vision. It's funny. I always give my give my podcast guests a book. I'm going to have a hard time picking a book that you haven't read, because it sounds like you're a voracious reader. Have you read Breathe by Hickson Gracie?
No, I haven't. So there's one I haven't read.
Perfect. Okay. Nico, make a note of that. Breathe by Hickson Gracie. I'm going to make sure I send that one over to you. It's out of the box, but I think you'll like it. I'm pivoting over now, from an operations perspective, to somebody that's newer in the business and they want to get started with lead conversion. They've never picked up the phone. They've never cold call. Give us a little bit of a pathway for our viewers to kind of, and even the veterans. I mean, refining the basics, right? You'll learn that in the book, Breathe. What are the basics that they should be doing when they get a lead come in, and what are you seeing working today?
today. I'm going to give away all the goods because I want everyone to win. And I've done this in our podcast as well.
Yeah.
What's working right now in this space is you need to have a dialing hour, 1 to 2 hours in your calendar where all you're doing and all you're focused on is dialing, calling the leads. So once you have the leads, like, running a standard, like if you want to get leads, like just run a standard property search ad, like get a list of homes under the median value, you will pick up leads. Just run it as a lead form ad on Facebook or on Google or on TikTok. There's tons of free training out there on how to do that.
Yeah.
You then need to commit to 1 to 2 hours of just dialing those leads, like getting them on the phone. When you get them on the phone, like say, for example, you get a conversation. One of the issues right now is we're not just going up against, as realtors, we're not just going up against other realtors. We're going up against the media. We're going up against what CNN, Fox, what CBC is saying about interest rates, a lot of flawed information, and what Uncle Fred and Mom and Dad are saying about interest rates, about now is not the time to buy because you can't find a deal. Even though last week I was chatting with a friend who ended up, because the realtor didn't price the property correctly, it sold $80,000 under the price reduction.
Wow.
That's a deal.
Yeah.
The deals are still if you it's a deal in the marketplace, you can still get, and you know this, Justin, like you can still get deals in the marketplace. It's just a matter of like finding the right realtor that has the information around financing. And really when you get on the phone with somebody, the whole purpose is to book an in-person meeting. If you do nothing other than just ask for an in-person meeting, you're 10 times more likely to get the client. So the script that we train all of our clients on is very, very simple. So you get on the phone, you talk to them about what they're looking for. You have the conversation. Before the end of the call, what you're going to say is Tom, has anyone taken the time to talk to you about the top 3 things that you need to consider in order to win in the market when you are ready to buy or sell? They're going to say no. Because the vast majority of real estate agents don't want to sit down with people. They just want to open doors.
Sure.
But you're listening to this podcast. You're different. You want to actually help people. You're going to say, why don't we sit down for a cup of coffee at Starbucks, here in Ontario, wherever you're at. And before the coffee gets cold, I'll walk you through the top 3 things you need to consider in order to win in the market when you're ready to buy. So we can help you make an informed, intelligent decision. And we get you the home you want at the price you want with the terms you want. Do mornings or afternoons work better? And you're going to set up a meeting. And you're going to meet with them. You're going to educate them. You're going to talk to them about you're going to talk to them about the interest rates, what's best for them. You're not going to send them to a lender because you are going prior to meeting with them, because you're going to lose the lead. A lot of things that I see agents do. Yeah. It's like, okay, speak to my lender first. But you're not going to follow up. The lender's not going to follow up. The lead's going to fall through the cracks. And I speak to people. That's my thing. It's like, I speak to people. I listen to these calls, not other realtors. I speak to real people who want to buy property. Like I have a friend out in Vancouver who wanted to buy a property, reached out to a realtor. The realtor sent them to the lender. The lender didn't get back to him. He gave up his search. I speak to people. So go stop speaking to other realtors and get your information from people.
Yeah. It's fascinating because I see that all the time, right? It is the lack of follow-up, and it's a lack of delivering on the promises that they're making to people. And you made it very simple. I think people overcomplicate it, and the call reluctance often comes from, well, I'm not prepared. I don't have all the answers about every single property that they could possibly ask me about. And in reality, you're just developing a relationship, talking about your skill set, and every conversation, every touch point is an opportunity to show them what it's like to actually work with you. I think you have to be prepared. You have to be an expert, and you have to have a structure and a system on how you go about doing it. But most agents don't have a system, and that's where they go wrong.
Yeah. It's, there's so many different things. When you come out of that meeting, because we ask this question a lot. It's like, well, I do the meeting. What do I talk to them about? What are the top 3 things? It's like, then that becomes a product knowledge conversation now, where it's like, have you looked at the hot sheets? Have you looked at the interest rates in your area? Do you know the market? Do you know do you know the current interest rate for the week? Like all these things that make you a knowledge broker in the industry. These are all content ideas that you can create too. So if content is a pillar towards your business, You should know all of these things. You should be creating content around that, but you should just be relaying this information around hot sheets, around, buyer concessions, which a lot of people don't know about. Like, there's just a lot of product knowledge things that like what are the top 3 things? Like, I just tell them, let's sit down and chat about interest rates. Let's chat about the buying process, and let's chat about how to find the property that you like. Like, so just keep it stupid simple. Like, and let's talk about the things that are important to them. Like, because like every buyer, every seller is going to have different, they're going to have different needs and different wants. And it's like the first half of the conversation when you sit down with them is just asking clarifying questions. In a perfect world, if we could find you the property you want at the price you want with the terms you want, where would that property be? Where would it be located? Like, just digging a little deeper face to face, taking notes, giving them value, like you had said, I think could really make a massive difference in the industry. And I'll get a lot of people off the sidelines, because people are generally, when people don't make buying decisions or people don't make decisions, is generally lack of information. If they had better information, they generally would make better decisions.
Yeah. And I think they want somebody to drive the bus for them, right? And too often people are just worried about overeducating or coming off as being pushy, when like you hire an expert because you want an expert. I'm asking you questions about ads and lead conversions because that's all you guys do, right? Is you look at ads and leads conversions and what's working today, which is why I brought you on.
And every other industry does it.
Yeah.
Financial planners do it. Insurance agents do it.
Yeah.
For some reason, it's just like because like in 2020 and 2021, it was so easy and all we had to do was open doors. We forgot that we're advisors in every market. Like, when somebody comes to me and they want to sit down and chat with me and they want to book a demo about what we do, they come in and they might not buy from me for 2 years, and that's okay. Like, I still went through the program. I still explained everything that, like, and you made the decision on whether it was right for you now, or maybe it's right for you in 2 years. That's okay. And business is a long game. And we just I'm really on the soapbox right now of like, please, can we humanize people? Can we humanize leads? Because they're people. They're your mom, they're your dad, they're your aunt, they're your uncle. They know people. And that's really I'm on the soapbox right now of like really trying to drive home. If we just educated more people on the buying process, we would have, and we started, like I said this on social the other day, I'm like, if we started looking at I told my sales team, we are no longer using the word lead or prospect. We're only using the word future client. Everyone's a future client. Yeah. I think it just shifts perspective.
Yeah, I love that mindset. And I think case studies are a great way to do that, right? When we're sitting down with the team and people are telling me that, when the market's shifted here in Canada, all of a sudden online leads are terrible. I'm like, are they really? Let's sit down and let's call 15 people, because I'll find out stories about all these people as to what's going on in their life and how we can help them. I typically see 3 results. They don't know why they clicked on it, and they never want you to call them again, which is okay. That's one less person out of 8 billion that I'm going to work with. 2 is they're just watching the market. They're not going to do anything, but they want to be kept up to date. And then, yes, I'm in the market. Those are kind of the 3 outputs that you always see. And if you can get to the actual human behind the wall, that's where the beauty lies. So I appreciate that. I actually love that you said that as kind of your closing comment. I want to ask you 3 rapid fire questions, and then I'm going to get you out of here. But yeah, humanizing leads is a great mindset.
Love it.
So question number 1, given you are such a proactive person, what is something you're learning right now that maybe you suck at or you are scared of because you haven't really been good at it before?
Numbers.
Okay.
No, it's just like, it's tracking. It's like, for me, eventually I'll learn that. Eventually, I'll check it once a month. But like the P&L, profit and loss statement, the KPIs are something I'm checking multiple times a week, because what you focus on, you get. And it's like, I'm just going to keep focusing. Like for sales, for example, the only thing we're focused on is 100 showed appointments. Hit 100 showed appointments. We know we hit our goals.
Nice. I like that. Sirhan's strategy, actually, I believe he shared this publicly. If not, I'll give you this gem, is he outsources it. So he pays somebody to give him a 5-minute report daily and a 50-minute report once a week. And then I think 1 big meeting a month. And then he just has other people tell him how to actually look at those numbers. So
I love that.
Yeah, he buys his time back. Second thing, how has failure shaped your life?
Oh man, I fail every day. And for me, failure comes down to like, I look at failure as an opportunity to learn. You know, it's like we're constantly like imperfect action is what's going to drive is what's driven my my business, is what's driven my career. Is like I'm okay with failing because I want to try things, because I know the only way to get to where I want to go is like I have to try new things. Some things will stick, some things won't, and some things have stuck, and some things have just greatly failed us. But like I'm for me, it's imperfect action, and imperfect action is like will create failure. And it's like the beautiful thing about failure is once you fail, you have nowhere to go but up. And that's how I look at failure.
Well, make 100 imperfect phone calls that you're probably going to find one of them that's going to be worthwhile. Same concept, right? It just extrapolates to your own life. The most important question, given you made time for my audience, I want to point them in your direction. Do you have anywhere you'd like to point them, a message for them? The platform is yours.
Yeah. You know, like if you want to reach out and you want to have a conversation about lead conversion, follow me on Instagram, just literally at CODMAY, CODMAY. And that's probably the best place to reach me. You know, if we want to learn a little bit more about our company, it's literally just SheridanStreet.io. So SHERIDANST.io. And it kind of goes through everything that we offer as a company in order to help real estate agents. And that's really what we're trying to do, is make a massive impact in the real estate community, connect you with more people so you have more conversations, because the more conversations you have, the more conversions you're going to have, because it's something that we're really, really passionate about.
I appreciate you making the time to be here. If you're watching the podcast or the replay, make sure to hit that subscribe, that notification button, share the show out with somebody that you think may appreciate it. And more than anything, go connect with Cody. This is a rare opportunity to name drop my name and say, hey, I watched the show. It was amazing. Give me your biggest takeaway and make that human connection, because you aren't somebody that's just watching this. You're part of the Prime Nation. And Cody, I'll definitely see you on a future episode.
Hey, Justin, thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Okay, see you, brother.